Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Oh, God. Woo! Wow. Man, the sense of joy, relief, triumph. Whoa. I mean, that was brutal. Wow. It's just unbelievable. Wow. I was taking notes throughout, and I was just looking at them, and about 9:38, I stopped pretty much because I just wanted to sit back and lap it up. There was just no point. It was, wow, God, unbelievable, wondrous. She was incredible. There were, where to start. Geez. I was looking at some of the reaction from others and everybody from Lindsey Graham, who in the spin room where he's supposed to be spinning it in a positive way, could only say that it was a disaster for Trump, which shows he's not capable of spinning something that was that so obviously a rout. Michael Beschloss, the presidential historian, said from start to end, Kamala Harris has just delivered what is easily one of the most successful presidential debate performances in all of American history. Whoa. Easily, he says, one of the most successful in all of American history. Yeah, well, which is why I, just relaxed after a while. I actually started to relax at the very beginning when she strode onto the stage and he tried to immediately duck behind his podium, and she walked completely across the stage, invaded his space, holding out her hand and saying, I think she said, I'm Kamala Harris. Have a good debate. Well, right then, she had unmasculated him. You could see that he didn't know as she was coming at him. He was uncertain. He was at that point, before the debate even began, he was on the defensive. He was on his heels. He was not sure what to do. And it only got better. I did note that the first question that came at her, and I didn't note exactly what it was, but she did not, immediately, this is why I hate interviewing politicians. She didn't even pretend to address the question as it came. She just went off on telling whatever story she wanted to tell at that time. And this is why I do want to say this was not a debate. I mean, anybody, and I wasn't, who was on like the debate team in their high school, to show you what kind of a high school I went to, we didn't even have a debate team. But I know enough, I think, about how debates actually are structured and work that you can't. I mean, you gotta deal with what you have to deal with, and neither of them. I mean, because that's what it shouldn't be called a debate. It just shouldn't. The way we do them, they're not. But whatever that was, there's no doubt who won it. Even though, of course, one of his last lies of the night was he came in to the spin room afterwards, which is, as far as I know, never done, to announce that he had, in fact, won. Not only had he won, he said, it was my best debate. Ah, jeez. I was happily surprised to see that the moderators did attempt and on occasion fact checked in real time, and because he was lying nonstop, it's just a fire hose of falsehoods. They didn't do all, but they did not allow some of the more egregious things he said to stand. I mean, the lies were, they always are astonishing. That Democrats support the execution of babies after birth. And that, I think, my memory serves me correct, that was the first time one of the moderators, Lindsey Davis, just flat out said, there is no state in this country where it's legal to kill a baby after it's born. And then she just turned to Harris and asked another question. He also said that every single scholar, of course, it's always, it's always this, every and the most and the best. Every legal scholar wanted Roe versus Wade to be overturned, he said. And I'll give him this. Quite a few scholars, even more liberal or moderate ones, thought it was not a well-reasoned decision. But all legal scholars wanted it overturned? A lie. He said we recently had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country. Donald, I mean, the fact that he kept talking about this country as if it was the crime capital of the world, when in fact, and I believe here again, this is when Muir said, hey, the FBI says that crime is in fact down, and he said, that was a lie. I mean, the Democrats are trying to get illegal immigrants to vote, that the undocumented people are taking over towns and buildings, and the best, and I hadn't heard it, and I almost fell off my chair, is that they're eating the dogs. Wow! This for those of us who don't regularly immerse ourselves or even take a little teeny peek at the nonsense that is being fed to our country men and women who listen, watch, read right-wing media. I mean, that was a what? And it turns out, yeah, if you listen to them, that's something they absolutely believe. That I guess it's Haitian immigrants are taking people's dogs and cats and eating them. I mean, you can't make it up. And there again, Muir actually was ready for that one. And he told Trump, that's not true. I talked to the supervisor of the town. He said there were no incidents of such a thing happening. And, it's just, it was extraordinary. Just extraordinary. And if he had been prepped in any way, the one thing you would have to prep the guy for is not to let her bait him into losing it. And the minute she started in about his crowds, and they were leaving while he was speaking because they were bored out of their minds because he's talking about Hannibal Lecter and windmills giving you cancer. And I thought, oh my God, you could see his face change. If there was one thing he had to do, it was not let her bait him so that he'd lose it. And he just, man, he took that bait like it was a jewel. Unbelievable. So she didn't need the hot mics. And obviously he kept trying to talk even though his mic was muted. And that was one thing they didn't do right. They let him then hector them into giving him more time. And he did have more time than she did by virtue of that sort of bullying of the moderators. It was just a slam dunk, guys. I've got calls here. Let's let some of you in, okay? Go ahead, please.
Hey, Lynn, Sissy White Liberal here.
Hi.
So, hi. My only complaint about last night, and the big sticking point for me, it just drives me up a wall, moderator-wise.
Yeah.
Is why they let him go on about import taxes paid by China. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know how much people know or don't know about that, but most people, I think, do understand that the importer, whoever the importing agent is in the United States, they're the ones that pay those taxes.
Right.
And they pass them on to U.S. consumers. That's the mechanism there. That's how the United States gets money. It's a tax increase on consumers, period.
But I want to say this, but it was her job to clarify that. Yeah. And I don't think she ever did. It's a very easy concept to teach people, and she didn't do it. That was her job to do.
No, I 100%. Well, I think it's both of their jobs. Because it's an outright falsehood. But from her perspective, the reason you do want to bring that up is you get to say, are you stupid? Yeah. Or are you lying to your voters? You know, and I guess they're not mutually exclusive. There's the laugh line, right? That would be the way that I would address it. But otherwise, I can't imagine. My wife wanted to watch. I didn't want to watch it. I want to watch a Pirates game. Like I don't want to be anywhere near the TV when this is going on because I'm worried I'm going to throw a brick at the TV watching it. But it was wonderful. She did as good a job as is possible to do with a deranged moron on the other side.
You know, stop and think. Stop and think of all the people we have seen in a debate situation with him, including, Republicans initially trying to get the nomination in 16, and then, Hillary, and then, Biden, God help us. He has never been owned like that I have seen in
Oh, yeah.
that kind of a situation, even by an interviewer. I've never seen him owned.
Yeah, and I mean, it's he's never had to pay the piper at any stage of his life for any of his personal failings ever. I mean, that might be too sweeping of a statement, but it feels like it. Looking on the outside, looking in at somebody like him, his two levels of justice. There's really three levels of justice in the United States. Okay, there's the everyday person's bureaucratic justice that is probably about 75% of the way justice is meted out. Then there's people of color justice, which is as unfair could be, whether it's for drug crimes that they're disproportionately thrown in jail, or the way that they're beat up and harassed by the police. And then, of course, there's rich people's justice.
Yeah.
And that's certainly what he enjoyed. So there's that. But one quick question I had, maybe, and this is unfair of you, I thought Susan was in today, and I had a school board question. So a friend of mine has a child who's borderline autistic in California area school district. I found out that the superintendent of California school district also is the CEO of a charter school in California, Pennsylvania. And I would like to really know how the hell that is not like a conflict of interest on biblical proportions, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Somebody in charge of a school district runs a for-profit school in California, Pennsylvania. How the hell is that possible? The reason I ask this is because this person is a little bit upset with the amount of resources being dedicated to their child. And I, like I say, Susan probably would have a better perspective on it. But I don't know about you, but most people, when they talk about a conflict of interest, that's not what it is. Most of the time, they're complementary interests, right? Maybe one person representing two different parties. But this is a person who has access to the public resources of a school district to benefit her personal private for-profit school.
Yeah,
and that's just
pretty astonishing.
So I don't know if you have friends at WTAE that we can look into that, but boy, that would be helpful if you could. But anyway,
all right. Thank you.
Anyway, yes, it was the fact that my wife wanted to watch this debate tells me all I need to know, because she hates politics, and I don't blame her in the least, or anybody like you. You're probably in the same basic position, but when people like me try to tell my wife, this is what this psychopath says, she's positive that I'm exaggerating.
Yeah.
They got to see this guy in full crazed rant last night.
Yep.
People that don't know. So it was kind of good.
It was great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
You. You too. Okay. Bye-bye. Bye. Getting some of your emails in. Little Tony says the one about illegal immigrants eating people's dogs and cats was new to me. I'd not heard that one before. That's a classic. Was he really that dumb to repeat that story? Well, yeah, he is that dumb. Anyway, so glad the debate is behind us. Ellen writes, one thing Trump said that I was extremely surprised that no one on the Post analysis mentioned was that jailed illegal immigrants, were being given gender-changing operations. My husband turned to me and asked, did he really just say that? Wow. Did anyone? Yeah. No. You know what? It's a fire hose of insanity, of just insanity. Did you see one of the things making the rounds now in the right-wingosphere is, and I've seen, maybe you've seen pictures of Harris's ear, in which there was a earring, and they're saying now that earring was in fact an earpiece, and she was being fed answers throughout the debate. Do you believe it? Man, I'm just, Margaret says TKO. And what else I got? Bette Midler put on Twitter, he changed the color of his makeup. He's darker than Kamala. Is he turning black? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You don't even. Okay, a few other things I just wanted to say myself. Oh, Milton says, so what will be more consequential? Kamala's outstanding performance or Taylor Swift's endorsement of her within 10 minutes of the end of the debate? Well, I, well, that remains to be seen. For those of you who haven't seen what Taylor Swift's endorsement was exactly, I'll read it to you. It is, as I guess so much of what she does. I'm not wild about her music, but so much of what she does is well done. She's a bright cookie. She said this. Like many of you, I watched the debate tonight. If you haven't already, now's a great time to do your research on the issues at hand and the stances these candidates take on the topics that matter to you. As a voter, I make sure to watch and read everything I can about their proposed policies and plans. Recently, I was made aware that AI of me falsely endorsing Donald Trump's presidential run was posted to his site. It really conjured up my fears about AI and the dangers of spreading misinformation. It brought me to the conclusion that I need to be very transparent about my actual plans for this election as a voter. The simplest way to combat misinformation is with the truth. I will be casting my vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the 2024 presidential election. I'm voting for her because she fights for the rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them. I think she is a steady-handed, gifted leader, and I believe we can accomplish so much more in this country if we are led by calm and not chaos. I was so heartened and impressed by her selection of running mate Tim Walz, who has been standing up for LGBTQ rights, IVF, and a woman's right to her own body for decades. I've done my research and I've made my choice. Your research is all yours to do and the choice is yours to make. I also want to say, especially to first-time voters, remember that in order to vote, you have to be registered. I also find it's much easier to vote early. I'll link to where to register and find early voting dates and information in my story. With love and hope, Taylor Swift, Childless Cat Lady. Well done. Rust Belt Expedition says it was a beautiful thing watching her bait him about the size of his rallies. It was what was so astonishing is that they had to know that would be something she would try to do and that he would be prepared. And so he wouldn't take the bait. But he is such a crazed narcissist that when you push that button, he cannot help himself. Can't help himself, obviously. One of her great lines was when everything he was asked. When he was asked about, do you have any regrets about January 6th? Within 2 seconds, first of all, he didn't. And within about 2 seconds, he was talking about immigrants. Murderers, crazy people by the millions. They're coming for us. No matter what the question was, it was immigrants. They're coming for us. And then he said, wait, I got to find it here. He said, why aren't they prosecuting those people? He was saying they prosecuted those fine, upstanding Americans on January 6th, but why aren't they prosecuting the dog and cat eaters? Huh? And Harris says, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who's been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, and has been found liable for sexual assault. His next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. Oh. And then he went off on a rant and lies about how it was Biden and Harris who were behind all of those lawsuits, that it was politicization of the Justice Department, which in the blueprint for 2025 that he disavows is exactly what they say they will, in fact, do. Just mind-blowing. Wait a minute here. Oh, I know I had another, there was another email I saw that I need to get to. Chuck, this subject line is glass half empty. Lynn, glass half empty here. Most of the post-debate quick surveys are showing the debate did nothing to change any minds, and for those who were undecided, they still are. As for the moderators, if they're going to control the mics, then let's turn off Trump's mic when rules dictated that. His mic was turned off, but you could hear him, off mic demanding, and then you're right, they turned his mic back on, which they should not have done. Trump spoke for 43 minutes as a result, and Harris for just 37. But here's the other thing. The length of time each got is not what's important here. It's what they did with the time. And he hung himself every time he opened his mouth. So give him all the time he wants to spew his nonsense. And Chuck writes, and you're right, this is not a debate. This is a reality show, which also has winners and losers. Chuck, I think you're a little too depressed about all this, because I saw, and I think it might have been the Washington Post, can't remember, but they had put together a panel. I always hate these things. A panel of 25 undecided voters in swing states. So some of them were from Pennsylvania, some Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona. And they had them, and I'm looking at their pictures here. They're black, they're white, they're female, they're male. And all of these people said that they were undecided, although they leaned, many of them, one way or the other. And in fact, a lot leaned Trump. First of all, they were asked a number of questions afterwards, and when asked who won, 23 of the 25 said she did. Okay, those are undecideds. 23 of the 25. And then when asked if it had how they stood now in terms of where they would vote, none of them changed to Trump. None. A few, I can't remember how many, did go from leaning to Harris to definitely Harris voting for her. So she picked up, and some went from just having no idea to leaning now to Harris. Nobody moved closer to supporting Trump. None of them. Some that said they were leaning toward Trump after it was over still were unmoved and were still leaning toward Trump. But I would say that that was the minority, given this small group of 25. But any movement that was seen was away from him and toward Harris. So listen, if the folks who do the polling and stuff are right, and even though it makes our heads explode to hear this, that a good 46, 47% of this country's voters are favorably inclined toward him, then we've got such a small slice of people that are going to make the difference. And they have to be in just a few states. It's, I forget who says this, uses it. It is, and we have to, despite the fact that it's mind blowing, this race is tight as a tick. Every voter that we have has got to get to the polls. And we've got to, if any of us have the capacity to sway any undecided voter, we've got to do that. I mean, I'm looking at my notes. Some of the things he said were so deranged that there is no way that he garnered any new support. None. In regard to January 6th, he not only said that, it was a relatively peaceful thing. Only one person was killed, and that was on his side. He actually said at one point, quote, "I had nothing to do with that." And then, I mean, he was so unhinged toward the end. He was saying things like about Biden, "We have a president who doesn't even know if he's alive." And then he said, "Biden hates her." And that's when she got, I thought, one of the best lines off. She looked at him and she said, "You're not running against Joe Biden. You're running against me." And the other thing is body language, facial expression, all of that. She absolutely knocked it out of the park. She appeared strong. She even at one point laughed out loud at him. So she was able to mock him and yet really take him down when she needed to. She looked at him and addressed him directly. When she said, "The generals I've spoken to say you are a disgrace," Whoa. It's just incredible performance, guys. A few other, David Frum wrote something that oh, here's something else I was looking at some things that I'd culled that I wanted to share if you hadn't seen them. What's his name? Hume. Is it Brit Hume? He was on Fox, right? So he said on Fox News last night after the debate, she was composed. She was prepared. She kept her cool. She saw advantages and took them. She baited him successfully, which is the story of the debate, in my view. She came out ahead, no doubt. Okay, there it is again. Let me get to the phones. And hello, go ahead.
Hey, Lynn, it's Mike in Highland Park.
Hi, Mike.
So how I see this, she did a great job. I mean, amazingly well. But what we don't get is her job was not to play to the base, right? We all wanted her to go out there and call him every name under the sun and prove our point for us. But that wasn't her objective. Her objective was to get to the people who don't know her yet.
Right.
So she couldn't throw direct punches at him. She had to do it, like you said, by mocking him. And she couldn't mock him too hard because then she'd be that uppity black woman, right? So she had a really rough road to toe, and she did an amazing, amazing job.
Yeah.
He played to his base, which is all he can do. And letting him talk, go ahead. Every time they let him go, I'm like, go ahead, he'll say something stupid.
Right.
So, she did an amazing job, but she wasn't talking to us. Most of us knew all that information already. She was talking to the people that literally know nothing about her. Mm-hmm. And she did an amazing job.
She didn't. If you knew nothing about her, you would have been impressed. You would have liked her. She was lovely, and as I said, smiling. Her face was animated. She projected the kind of strength that people want in a leader, and he projected like out of control, nitwittery. He was, no doubt about who projected strength. So
yeah, and one time she looked pitiful for him, like,
yeah.
Oh, that poor man, which was like genius, right? She was like, that poor man. And when she put her hand in her chin, it was like, go ahead, dig yourself in a hole. Go ahead. That was awesome. And then him, did you see those beads of sweat on his upper lip?
No, I did not.
About a half hour in, his lip is sweating like nobody's business, being accentuated by his pursing of his lips and his eyes closed. Like people who study nonverbal communication things, I sort of read an article about it this morning. We're all over that too. But he was sweating.
Yeah.
She had him off his mark, and she didn't have to just introduce herself. She had to highlight the difference between the two of them. And she did a good job at that too.
She was amazing. I had trouble sleeping last night because I was smiling. I was just smiling. And for some reason, I don't think I can fall asleep with a smile on my face.
Right, exactly. I was up till 1 o'clock because I couldn't unwind.
Yeah, I know.
I was so pumped.
Me too. Oh, thank God.
So that's all I wanted to say. But
yeah, well, it was really, well said. And thank you. Nice to hear you.
Sure.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye. Um, a few other things that I wanted to, and feel free to come on in. David Frum said, something every woman watching the debate probably noticed. Trump could not bring himself to say the name of the serving vice president, his opponent. For him, Harris was just a pronoun, a nameless, identityless she, her, you. It is said that narcissists cope with ego injury by refusing to acknowledge the existence of the person who inflicted the hurt. If so, that might explain Trump's behavior. Harris bruised him, and Trump reacted by shutting his eyes and pretending that Harris had no existence of her own, independent of Joe Biden, whose name Trump was somehow able to speak. But as she reminded him, you're not running against Joe Biden. You're running against me. Okay. Am I still here? I feel like I lost a screen here. By the way, these little dropouts that I've been experiencing, we are working on those, and where the hell is my, okay, I'm assuming I'm still on, but I can't find my main screen because I'm an idiot. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Lynn. How are you?
I'm good.
So I think this Kamala's performance was the one that Hillary needed all those years ago, and we talked about this before. I felt that Hillary had lost when Trump was hovering behind her, and she didn't react or respond to him properly. I lost a lot of respect for Hillary and her handlers, or whatever you call them. But Kamala was ready, and I was glad that jerk got it thrown in his face a little bit.
Oh yeah, more than a little bit. I mean, totally owned. Owned. Seriously.
So I just want to share this. I got this really great piece of advice a couple weeks ago. I want to share it with you. When you're spending time with your Latino friends, say mucho as often as possible.
Why?
It means a lot to them.
Ha! All right, you're out of here. Very funny. Okay. Oh my. I'm sitting here trying. That's funny. I'm trying to get to where I see everybody, and I don't. So I'm slightly at a disadvantage here because I can't find. Damn it! I can't find my normal screen. Oh well. So I can't see your chat. If you're chatting, I'm not seeing it, and I'm sorry. That's the screen I can't find. I don't know where the hell it went. I'm clicking around and it's nowhere to be found, but I haven't been told by anybody that you're not hearing me, so I'm going to decide you're still there. Okay, what else do I have? Let me share some of the other things that I might have noted. Oh yeah, wow. What the hell was that about Abdul? What he talked about meeting with the Taliban, and he told the story. He said he was trying to show what a big guy he was. He was threatening Abdul, who he said, that's the leader of the Taliban. But, I have to tell you, the guy who headed the Taliban when he was in office, and I think heads it now, is not named Abdul. It's so I don't know again how much of that was just he just made up out of whole cloth, out of and then he segued from that in trying to talk about what a strong leader he was into how the Hungarian autocrat Viktor Orban, who he, always says, greatly respected statesman and all over the world, one of the greatest, the world's greatest strong man, that he thinks Trump is another strong man, and that is the only person that he invoked on his behalf. Is just amazing, and I loved. And this is another way that she baited and goaded him. How she referred more than once to how he was a patsy for any strong man who flattered him, how he'd fall for any kind of flattery, and that's how they played him. And so she was saying right to his face, "You're not a strong man, and strong men know it. You're weak. They play you." Whoa, just whoa. Damn. I feel out of sorts here, guys. I'm so sorry that I can't find my screen. Oh well. Uh, Roger, I see ya. Let me see if I can get you here. Um, Roger says Harris and Trump people will not be swayed, no matter how the debate went. I agree. Undecided voters that were not swayed, then they really aren't undecided. Well, that's a good point. Because, yeah, if you stop and think about it, how could you watch those two people, one of whom will be the next president of the United States, and be undecided about who has the right temperament? Again, like so many Republicans who have said they will vote for her, even if the policies aren't necessarily to your liking, seeing the temperament and the lack of control and the incoherence of the one candidate, as opposed to the absolute opposite calm comportment of the other, how the hell could you still be undecided after seeing that debate? And it's a good point, Roger, because it means that I don't know who the hell knows what could you possibly be thinking. And that's again the thing that scares me most, is that it's so obvious that so many voters, people with that power of a vote, are not thinking. Scary. Or they're incapable of it. I don't know. Roger says, I didn't watch. Huh. Well, you missed a good one. Good or bad, I wouldn't have been able to get to sleep. Well, I can attest to that. Also, I cannot stand his voice. Well, that's true too. And I have to admit, that was the longest I have subjected myself to him in a long, long time, where I was, yes, listening and looking at, because I find it unbearable as well. Um, guys, I don't know where my screens are. I can't even get to the calls if you're calling in. I was feeling so on top of all of this technological crap, and now I'm just blah, 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 blah. I just can't. I'm clicking around here like an old fart, and not finding what I need. Son of a bitch. Okay, well, I don't know where that damn call-in studio went. I'm sorry. So for the remainder of the show, if you want to get anything in, you're going to have to email. Even if you call, and I think I think there's somebody on, I don't know how to get to you. I can't see the screen to give you a little, push the button. So unbelievable. Okay. Stop, Cullen, and just do the show. Stop with your. Um, okay. Okay, so I think I'm caught up on the emails. And let's see what else I have that I have not somehow gotten in. The weird thing about him saying, and who knows why, that he said Biden hates her, is that one of the things that he had intended to do is tie her to him, right? And to say that they were anything Biden did, she did. And it was the Biden Harris, Biden Harris, Biden Harris. And then by saying he hates her, he separated her from him, which is doing for her what. Okay, can you tell I'm trying to do this again? Shit. Where is it? Okay. Uh, okay. I can't. Okay, stop it. Just stop, Cullen. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Um, and the one thing I thought just appalling. So, when asked if did he want Ukraine to win the war, he obviously doesn't because he's Putin's puppet. He's for the other guy. And so he actually said that he would not, he never answered it, but by virtue of never answering it, he answered it. He was asked, in fact, twice and dodged it, would not say, because he couldn't bear the thought of Putin, I suppose, being angry with him. The other thing he wouldn't answer, and where he stuck his foot in it, even with his own base, is when asked about J.D. Vance, his vice presidential choice, saying that if the Democrats managed to pass, if they had the Congress, and managed to pass a federal abortion law, making abortion legal in the country, he said Trump would veto that. And when asked, he wouldn't say he would, which for his base is a little not good. I don't know. Oh, and then did anyone notice where when he was talking about how Democrats like to murder babies after they're born, And he said, well, the governor of West Virginia, not the current one, he's a good guy. The other governor of West Virginia, he flat out said, you know, you can kill a baby after it's born. And then he returned later to that, except then the governor had become the governor of Virginia. And he repeated it again. And then when she starts listing all of the people in his own cabinet and the generals and the national security advisors and all those folks who said he's a danger and he's a disaster, and he went right into, you know, the apprentice mode, right? I fired most of those people. I fired them. He Another lie wrote down, I got more votes than any president in American history. Wow. Wow. So, oh, and another fact I wanted to, a la January 6th, when he was saying he had nothing to do with it, and he blamed it on Nancy Pelosi and said that he had offered, that's right, he had offered Nancy Pelosi 10,000, I think he said, National Guard troops, and that she refused them. He said, he offered 10,000 National Guard troops and she said no. And this was a fact check done, I believe, by the Washington Post in real time. There is absolutely no evidence to support that he ever made such an offer. And even if he had, she would not have had the power to turn it down. I mean, the District of Columbia National Guard is under the command of the president as commander in chief, not the Speaker of the House. She is in charge of Capitol security. And he referred to some tape that her daughter had of her saying she was totally responsible for what happened. The tape he's referring to was, as you know, her daughter was capturing in real time what was going on that day in the Capitol and with her mom. And at one point, I guess when they're driving somewhere, they're finally driving away, Pelosi is just beside herself and blaming herself for not having done more to prepare the Capitol Police, which were under her jurisdiction. And that's what she's saying. And she does say, we screwed it up, you know, we're to blame. I've heard the tape. She's just beside herself and berating herself for not having had her Capitol Police ready. But she didn't turn down 10,000 National Guard troops offered by Donald Trump. No, he was too busy enjoying the carnage he'd unleashed, watching it on television, and despite the pleas by those around him to call off the mob, he refused for hours and hours, right? just to get the facts in. Okay, well, that was it, and went, she's a hell of a lot better than I could have dreamed. And thank you so much for being with me. And I'm sorry I mucked up my own screen here. I don't know what's going on. The good news is Kevin is coming by later today, and maybe he can give me a follow-up lesson or two on how to handle this thing, because I'm getting worse. I ain't getting better. You have a good day. Man, I feel like such a weight is off of us. But boy, do we have work to do. And don't think we don't.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.